Hi, it's Dr. Rowe here and greetings. And this video is part of a few videos that I'll put together for you to give you my perspective on the situation with Brexit. And this is part of some slides that I've recently gave at the Berkshire Property Meet, the very last one actually that was run. And I thought I'd just share some of those slides with you here on this video and give you my view. Now, of course, it's my view, my beliefs. You can take it or leave it. Some of it you might think it's sensible, some of it you might not agree with. But everybody has their own views on things, and I thought I'd just share with you my view from a point of view as a property investor in the United Kingdom. And initially, this first video is to talk about the uncertainty that's escalated off the back of Brexit. And I thought I'd just share with you some of the reasons why I believe that there is likely to be more uncertainty and an extended period of uncertainty compared to, say, something like a change of government, for example, or a change in the interest rates. And it's important to understand the distinction between that and the event that's just recently happened, bearing in mind that we are extracting ourselves as a country from a conglomerate of other countries whereby we have been governed by a set of rules at every level, including things like food prices, trade agreements, right down to the effects on our house prices. So let me just open this up and just share with you 7 things to consider when we're looking at the uncertainty at the moment in the market. And then what I'll do is I'll lead you into a couple more videos where we talk about some of the considerations that you might want to take as a property investor, just looking ahead at the market and expanding your business and building your portfolio. And the first message I want to give above all else, which is not here, and one of the slides I actually opened with at my presentation, was simply this: that it's done. It's happened. We can sit and debate it for months on end, and who voted for what and why the decision was made, etc., etc. And we saw all of the media coverage, but as I showed at the presentation, within 48 hours, people are back reading about, who Jordan slept with, or is Peter Andre getting back together with her, or what's Michael Jordan up to, what's David Beckham up to. We're quite fickle as a public when we're driven by the media. And I want to extract you from that for a minute and just look at some other considerations as well. And my message to everybody was simply put your head up, look forward, and more than anything, focus on the end result, the prize. We went into this business of property investing with a view to creating a certain style of business. And for a majority of people, it's to create some sort of passive income that's producing some freedom for them, hopefully full freedom if you choose to go that way, and a legacy for the future, which ultimately includes as well equity and growth in your portfolio as well. And because of that, our strategies really are not going to change. We're still going to have the basic foundational strategies. However, the difference is we're going and building an intention here to build this business through the thick and the thin, through the ups and the downs, which will always be. House price will go up and down, etc. But we have to be clear on what the end result is and not get embroiled in all the negative and the petty conversations that can sometimes happen over a beer, around a dinner table. Wasted energy on things that just aren't necessary, conversations that are not necessary. Focus your conversations on the results you want to achieve, speaking to the people that are going to help you achieve that, the people that will vibrate at a different frequency to you. And if you do that, your whole life will shift massively. And this is just one of those areas where it will affect you. So just working through this list very quickly, the first thing is that I believe that we are going to have an extended period of uncertainty after Brexit. Whereas, for example, with an interest rate change, when it happens, it's quick, everybody is aware of it, interest rates going up, going down, whatever. There's a knee-jerk reaction in the marketplace. There's usually some caution leading up to the announcement, as there was with Brexit. And then, of course, what happens is, subsequent to the announcement, if it's an interest rate, the banks readjust, they reset their fixed rate mortgages, they reset their variable rate products, they produce some more products for us very, very quickly. And then we're clear on what the market is, and we go back out, the criteria has changed, and we're off buying our properties again. This is different, and there's several reasons for that. For example, Article 50, which is essentially the process that we, the United Kingdom, has to go through as a process in order to extract ourselves from Europe. And that's not a straightforward process. And in fact, you've probably just heard recently that the government are talking about just extending that period at the moment. There's conversations to have with Scotland, for example, internally looking at how, as a country, we're going to extract ourselves. Obviously, Trade agreement conversations are probably happening right now as we speak, and that's down at item 5 there. But other countries talking to this country internally, major corporations having conversations with external companies from other countries, etc. You have to think of it like this. We've been doing trade for a long time. This is my view with other countries, but it's not the countries as such. It is the businesses within those countries. And entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs. They want to make money. They want to provide a great service. They want to be of service to their customers, and they want to keep conversations open. They want to keep dialogue open. They want to keep that communication going, because it's so important that we maintain that in any situation that we're in, because that's how we keep the flow of money going. So businesses that are in these other countries still have a desire to create more wealth and more business, and in so doing, what they're going to do is that I believe they're going to want to keep those agreements open. Now, how those formalize is another matter, and it could take longer in some cases than others, but just be aware that this is an important element. So this Article 50 is going to play a role in delaying the uncertainty, and of course with that delay, certain businesses will pause. Certain people, their mindset will be that they'll hesitate. They might keep their properties off the market for longer because they're not sure where the market's going, or they might try and move their market properties into the marketplace very quickly to try and sell quickly because of uncertainty. So, there is no black and white answer to this. We just have to watch the market and act accordingly. House prices is another subject that we could discuss for a long time. I think in reality what happened was, after the initial announcement, as many of you know, the value of the pound dropped, and it's still low compared to where it was before. And if you look, for example, at the European market, you would see that in euros, the value of a property in London, for example, dropped by approximately £50,000 simply because of the switch in the currency. And that became appealing to people from overseas. And I showed, one of the slides I showed was the percentage of people in London from different countries that buy into London. So for example, I think, and again, ballpark figures, but 16-17% of people that buy properties are from the European market. Then we had the Russian market at around about 9% from memory. And then you had other countries which included Asia, India, North America, holding about 4 or 5% each. And you could see quite clearly that these are countries that would benefit from the change, the devaluation of the currency, the British pound at the moment. And so what that created was a spike for a period of people buying from overseas, and we did see that. But I explained to the audience, and I'm saying this to you now, is that you've got to consider domestic buyers versus international buyers. And London is a different animal to the rest of the UK. And a lot of the studies suggest that London prices are likely to be more influenced by what's happened with Brexit, whereas around the rest of the country, the change in the prices won't have been affected and won't be so affected looking ahead for the next 3 or 4 years. So going into 2018, 2019, the overall market changes, the growth rates are not going to be so affected outside London as potentially in London. But remember, if you're buying properties for long term, you've got to be thinking passive income. And this is a message we'll talk about a little bit later on, is yes, property prices will fluctuate as they always have done. And as we saw in 2008, 2009, we saw a recession and then a slow clawback over time. But the people that were buying properties at the time for long-term investment were excited because interest rates were coming down. And that's something that we're obviously seeing at the moment as a potential situation. Migration laws is another factor. Those laws have to be implemented over the next couple of years. We're going to find out what happens to, for example, people from the European countries, the leave of stay, how long before some of them may have to leave to go back. I've got within our own family, we've got friends and very close people that are close to us that are in this situation. And so the British government have not made their position clear at the moment, and we won't know exactly. Certainly, we've got a 2-year period before really we start to see some shifts, I think, happening. So one of the things to consider is if this does affect people's... You see, there's 2 things here. There's what happens from a point of view of, again, how it works from a legal perspective, from an agreement perspective, what happens with the migration laws versus the mindset of the people from the European market. Those of people that previously lived in this country that were from Europe, maybe they have a different view now. Some of them may be more optimistic and decide to stay. Others might be even now thinking, well, it's time to start packing up my bags and start to be moving out. Now, that's going to affect those of you that potentially are renting out to tenants that are, multi-let properties that are rented out to people from overseas. I've got a lot of my properties have Polish people and people from Hungary, etc. So these are considerations to have. Trade agreements are going to be implemented, as I've said already, over the next few years. this will take time. So the reaction, there's a mixed mood at the moment, and we're still not sure where people are sitting. So all I can say really is you just plow ahead, find the opportunities, diversify your portfolio strategies, think about an income pyramid that includes a multitude of different strategies. Remember that the banks at the moment, if we look at lending as an example, we've just recently heard the banks talking, the Bank of England, for example, is talking about lowering the interest rates. That's a very positive sign for us as long-term investors. They know there's caution in the wind at the moment. With caution comes uncertainty, and with uncertainty, people get nervous. So what happens is the banks tend to lock the interest rates down a little bit lower. Those people that are borrowing at the moment, they feel more secure. That means we're seeing longer-term fixed rate mortgages. One of the data information that I presented at the actual talk was to show that 10-year fixed rate mortgages stopped for a period around 2009, and they've just recently been introduced about 2 years ago now, and the banks are looking very favourable. So we're seeing very low 10-year fixed rate mortgages. You can go out to people like Lloyd's and get a 20-year fixed rate mortgage at the moment on a commercial, which is a low rate. We're seeing fixed rate mortgages now coming down below 4.5, below 3.5 in fact in some cases. So these are all positive signs. So what I'm trying to say really is just accept that these changes have occurred, and we're in a period of transition which is not going to happen overnight, as we might see with a quick instant announcement like a change of government, which does have long-term effects, but usually there's a knee-jerk and then it dies away, a spike. This is going to have lots of little spikes along the way. So you can't be sitting on the fence, I don't believe, as a property investor saying, I'll wait. The time to act is now. The time to review your portfolio is now. The time to look at your income strategies is now. Which properties might be more exposed because you've got people from the European market living in your properties. Looking at the interest rates on your portfolio is an opportunity to review them now, simply purely because we've got a situation with banks coming out with hopefully lower rates, etc. So I'll cover this in other videos as well. I'm going to stop now because obviously there's a lot of information packed into a short space of time. Hopefully this makes sense to you, but hopefully it's a reassuring sense as well that look, there's really three things to consider as a property investor looking ahead after Brexit. Number one is house prices, which I've briefly mentioned there. Number two is the rental market, how that's going to be affected. Number three, I think, is interest rates, and I'll see if I can tackle that in one of my other videos to follow up from this. Okay, hopefully that was useful, and I shall speak to you all again soon.